Hammer, welcome back to Kanga TV. It's been a long time since we last caught up. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Good to be back. How are you?
Yeah, doing well. It's been a crazy off season already for North, and I thought we're going to jump into a bit of a review of the season today. But I thought before that, let's just address news hot off the press this afternoon. Charlie Spargo is set to come to North
Yes.
as an unrestricted free agent, rumored to be signing a 3-year deal. He kind of plays that small forward, but can maybe push higher up the ground, maybe onto a wing, can cover the ground really, really nicely. What are your sort of first thoughts on the signing?
I love it. I think so. Our family was very good friends with the Spargos and still is. So going back quite a while with them. But we just need another small forward. Like we need a zippy small. Curtis is sort of that medium sized, strong power forward that's a bit of a Cam Rayner style, but we lack an exciting small that can sort of zip around and impact with pressure. And I think Charlie's been exactly that when he's been playing well at Melbourne, and he's a premiership player, which we need that. Experience certainly helps, and I think or from all reports, when Angus was on the list with him, his work ethic at training, his attitude around the footy club is exactly what we need at North, and he's fit. He's strong, he's aggressive, and yeah, I couldn't be happier with the signing. I think it's obviously Paul Spargo played a number of games for North, and so it's getting a father son in the door. But in terms of exactly what we need, he's one that fits the bill.
I feel like we've had a fair few players rotate through that position during the season, and no one has really been able to, in my opinion anyway, lock in that spot. JK played every game, and I really liked what he brought from a defensive element, but he wasn't able to hit the scoreboard in the second half of the year in particular. Cooper Harvey had a few nice games in the back end of the year offensively, but defensively probably doesn't have that pressure element to him. We've seen Payne go through there, Banch go through there, even Hanson Jr. go through there. Everyone has something, but no one has everything. And I think we need to try and keep working at finding a complete player to fill that role. And so I'm not mad that we're giving Spargo a go. I think you sort of sit here and think, is it really a need? But when you step back, it actually probably is a need. And look, as you said as well, Dad played for North. He knows what it is to be a North Melbourne person. And I think as a North fan, there's always going to be that underlying element of romance as well to it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the guys that you listed off, everyone has their attributes, but I think Charlie's best attribute is his pressure and his defense. And then everything else sort of comes from that. He's able to get involved on offense because of the way he works defensively. Whereas I think those other guys that you mentioned had patches of really good football from an offensive point of view, but our issue is not offense. We can score really well. Our issue is we need to keep other teams to lower scores, and it starts when we get inside 50 entries to be able to hold the footy in there, and Charlie's only going to help us. So yeah, I it is a bit of romance about the Spargo coming back to North, but it's I think from what we need as a footy club, it certainly is going to help us going forward.
100%. I agree with you. And you mentioned before, and we'll go into the year as a whole. As a side this year, we really failed to lock the ball inside our forward 50. When it did go in there, it was kind of a one-hit wonder and then it bounced straight out again. So hopefully it can enhance our defensive blueprint across the board. What did you make of 2025 as a whole? What was your expectation going into it? How do you feel now coming out the other side?
Well, I'm very happy that we've got a successful women's team, so that we've got something. Um, it was frustrating. I think going into the year, I had expectations of success, not making finals or nothing crazy, but just seeing some real progress. And I think the thing that I was looking forward to the most was those massive losses getting, those coming back and us being more competitive, which in like looking over it, we were competitive in some games, and we had a pretty hot start to the year with that Melbourne game, and there was a lot that went right, but then there was too much that went wrong. And I think looking at the year, our it's really clear, I think, to me, and as all North fans, it's pretty clear. But I also think it's pretty clear to the competition that our upside is there, and we've got a lot of talent. We've got some really, really good young players, but in terms of the deficiencies that we've got, it's pretty clear that we're still not there yet, and there's a lot of work to do. So frustrating is probably the way that I'd put it, because you can see what we're trying to do. You can see what Clarko is trying to put in place, and you can see that the pieces are sort of there, but it's almost like they've got no colour on them and you can't see where they're going to go. You can see that it sort of should fit, but you're not sure why or where. And we're still a bit off the pace, which is frustrating considering how far we are into this rebuild. But yeah, it's probably the same for everyone across the board. But there's enough hope to get you back next year, and it's been the same for like the last 4 or 5 years. You feel like there's something that you can hang your hat on to get you coming back, and North Melbourne have as loyal a fans as there are in the comp, and they'll always come back no matter what. But I feel like there has been just enough this year to be like, I can see it cracking and breaking next year. So we'll see.
Yeah, I agree with you, especially coming at the right time. The last month of footy was pretty good. We obviously had the win against Richmond. We were really competitive against St Kilda and against Adelaide in the last round. That Giants game for the first half was pretty competitive, and then we sort of faded away as the game went on. But I think for me, the hardest thing is we've had to reset our expectation probably 2 to 3 times as the season's gone on. And I think you mentioned our best and our worst is still quite a far gap in between. But I hate that we had to still be on the end of 2 or 3 massive losses to sort of shake us
Yep.
and kind of drive a response out of us. I hope that next season, obviously, more wins you want and you want more development and progress and move up the ladder and that sort of thing. But I think for me, one of the key signs of progress next year is going to be these wins should just come on the back of our own motivation, our own willingness to be able to actually get the scores on the board and win the games. And I know it's there, but we've kind of got to hit that level on our own rather than have a massive loss on Good Friday. And that's going to result in a
Yeah.
response, or that huge loss against Geelong. And
Yeah.
that's going to warrant the response. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is like there's too many. I remember earlier in the year we had that the Carlton game where it was Carlton had struggled early and it was North are a chance and we lost by I think 80 or close to 80.
Yeah.
And you just okay, now it goes around again and then you have a response the next week. But you're right, we have our best and worst is too far between. But talking to people in football, the model of beating North Melbourne is pretty simple. It's don't let them. You have to stay with them, and we're a good side in the first half and 3 quarters, but inevitably our fitness drops off and we just get smacked. And I think that's the thing that we need to work on over the off season and the preseason. A bit the same with West Coast, and I was at their best and fairest the other day, and that was the messaging was we're going to have to break a few bodies, and if the off season means you come back overdone, you'd rather that because I think with North, it's a matter of our fitness and we fail when it comes to AFL level fitness. And maybe that's the issue of we've got such a young list and young players that we need to try and keep healthy on the park. But if we've got a list of 42, 44 guys, you'd rather get to the start of the year with 32 of them being fit and ready to go with 12 injuries than having 40 that are half fit, 4 on the injury list, but then when you get to a game, you just get smacked in the last quarter because everyone's underdone. So I think that's the model that they've got to go with is just smash the preseason, smash the off season. If it means breaking a few bodies on the way and guys who can't keep up with it, they fall by the wayside. I think that's what you've got to do because too many times you saw this year, we were in games, we were right in it with the best teams, and then we just got smacked because our fitness wasn't there. And that's something that I'm looking forward to next year to being able to see another preseason with a lot of these guys. But that gap, I think the S&C staff and the coaches need to really smash that because if we can stay fit, these 100-point losses and these big smack, they're going to come down. And so, yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to next year.
I completely agree with you. And look, it wasn't all doom and gloom this year. I think we can both agree that some of the highs that we had this season are unlike any we've experienced for a very, very long time. You touched on the Melbourne game
Oh,
before. Was that not just like an out of body experience?
it was the best. I can't remember watching a North Melbourne game that I have felt better in so long.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, you just watch it and everything worked. It was like a miracle game. And I tried to liken it to my partner's works at West Coast. And I said, remember the Derby 2 or 3 years ago when West Coast were at the bottom and we couldn't, but they came and beat Freo in a Derby that was so out of nowhere. I said it was like that game because literally everything that we could have done went our way. The ball bounced our way. Every one-on-one contest we won, and we just wiped this team off the park in every facet of the game. We doubled their score. We kept them to a low. I think they scored 60. We scored 120. It was just crazy how everything worked. And I remember as a North fan thinking that we're on here. We've got it. Well, this is it. This is what we're doing. And in hindsight, it was an anomaly, and we couldn't really live up to that again. But from a joy point of view as a fan, that was as good as I've seen in probably 8 years. I can't remember since the 2016, 2017 when we were around the mark. I can't remember a game as exciting that I've watched as a North Melbourne fan.
Completely agree with you. It feels like an out of body experience now,
Yep.
looking back on it. And I remember at the time, I don't think I slept for like 2 days. I was just, I was just on this high, and I had this like insane amount of energy. And it was, as you said, like it's something we hadn't witnessed for so long.
Yep.
I do feel like there were some other wins throughout the year though that was still really enjoyable. I thought the performance, and you were there against West Coast in Bunbury, we pulled that win off in a quarter. And I
Yep.
think that one thing for us as well is learning how to win games in all kind of
Yeah. Okay.
scenarios. What was that game like? Because I think a lot of North fans, and I don't know if you saw the same over the 2 weeks we were in WA, but a lot of North fans to me felt like they were happier with the week later and the performance against Fremantle than they were against the win against West Coast.
Well, I think the WA experiment as a whole worked, and it was great for the footy club. We made money and we came away with one win, and it was great. But in terms of the game, it was the worst game of football I've ever physically watched in
Yeah.
from skill level and just as a whole. It was a horrible game. But you're right, you need to learn to win, and it's the same. It was the same for West Coast in that preseason game. Again, it was scrappy and shit, but they won it. And it's like you've got such a young group who hasn't done this before and hasn't really had success. You have to learn to win. Winning in those tight games is a skill, regardless of how the game was going. And you're right. In the last quarter, our best players turned it on, and Sheezel went to work. Simpkin went to work. All these guys that had not done a lot, Zerha started getting involved. All of a sudden, they just lifted, and it's good for those guys, obviously, to play well, but for the younger guys who are out there running around and watching, to see your leaders step up, to see your best players play well, to then drag you across the line, it's a bit of, okay, that's how you do it. That's what I need to do next time we're in this position. And I think that was the benefit of coming over here and playing a team in West Coast who were struggling, but it was such a bad game, and the review would have been hilarious. I would have loved to have watched the review because Clarko would have just said, I can't use half of this because it's so out of, it's so bad. But this is the stuff. Think about the feeling, think about the mindset shift in the last quarter, and forget about hitting targets, forget about the skills. I don't think the ball hit. I don't think there was a clean possession until halfway through the third quarter. But
Yeah, that first half was just
it
so
was so
forgettable.
bad. But
Yeah.
the idea and the mindset behind being behind, coming up coming up good in the last quarter and actually getting things moving is so impressive. And I was in the rooms afterwards celebrating. It was unreal. It was so much fun. And then the week after that sort of flowed on. I know we didn't get the win, but to stick with it in a pretty sloppy conditioned game against a team who finished in the top eight was really exciting. And so yeah, the WA experiment was certainly a tick. And you're right. It was something that you look back on and you think, okay, we need to learn to win, and that's one that we certainly got a lot of learning out of.
We got a lot of learnings out of those wins. There were also some tight losses and some bad losses that probably needed a bit of attention. Do any of those losses stand out in your mind, either as learning curves and experiences or things that should just never happen again?
Well, the one that sticks out to me was the Collingwood loss. And I said it before about the fitness aspect, but I remember speaking to my uncle about this, James, who had spoken to the S&C guy at Collingwood after that game. And he said the exact same thing I just said before. We knew that we just had to stick with you, and then you'd fade. And we were 3 points. It was 3 points the difference at three-quarter time when we lost by 45 points.
Mm.
And we were right in the game for the first three quarters. We were up at half time. Everything was going to plan. And then you just come up against a seasoned, hardened team who is match fit, and they just walk all over you. And what we've got is a team that is very talented, very skillful, but very young and very inexperienced. And as soon as you get tired, all your decision making and everything drops. And that's what you saw on that game. And that sticks out to me as something that we can learn from and really use as a launching pad to be like, hey, we can match it against the best teams, but we need to be able to do it for the whole game. And as soon as we can't, then we're so easily picked apart. So that was the one that stood out for me as like, hey, we've got a lot of work to do from a fitness point of view. And then the one from just a pure disappointment point of view was the Geelong game. Like that was,
Yeah.
you don't want to see guys. I never complain. I'll never complain about. I've played football. I know how hard it is. I'll never say that you go out there and you don't try. because you always do, no matter what. But I won't say that you don't go up and give up at some points. Like there was always you always want to try to start with, but once it gets hard, there are times where you do turn the toes up and you just give up. And that's what North did on that game. And it was, as a fan, it was embarrassing because, they just did what they wanted. They tried to get Jeremy Cameron to 100 goals, and it was a joke. And you saw from a from an ego point of view as a player and a club, like the Jeremy Cameron 100 watch, the back end of the year, all those teams that came up against him were double teaming, triple teaming, and just like, we're not going to let you kick a bag on us. Whereas North just let him run around inside forward 50 on his own. And it was like, who cares? Even if we had a loss by 100 points, but you had seen three blokes hanging off Cameron so that he doesn't kick 10,
Yeah.
that's a team who's trying. But
Yeah.
it was a real like, ugh, this is too hard for us and give up. So those are the two games for me that stick out as two different moments. The Collingwood one, we were right in it and then we just ran out of legs. And the Geelong one, we need to just get out of our psyche as a playing group and as a club.
100%. I think that footage of Patrick Dangerfield sitting on the bench eating a kebab
Oh
goes
my God.
down as one of the worst moments as a North fan in my entire life.
Yep.
Just,
It's just embarrassing. A bloke who literally couldn't be screaming any louder. This team doesn't bother me, and it's irrelevant. I don't care.
yeah. And I think we want to get to this point where we actually are taken seriously and
Yeah.
we are respected by the opposition. And games and performances like that won't help. But here's hoping that that's something we leave in 2025 and we can move on in 2026. We're starting to see a new breed of leaders coming through, be it through their actions on field. We spoke about the youth and you've spoken about it already before. Who are some of your favorite players to watch throughout the season? Obviously, you've got the Larkies and the Sheezels and the LDUs, and we know how, great and exciting they are. But is there anybody else that maybe hasn't been spoken about as much or has come through the ranks this season that you're really excited to see go again next year?
Yeah, a couple. I think with George Wardlaw has been so injured, but like he reminds me a lot of Ben Cunnington in the way he attacks the ball, and like he's so hard to go in and win the footy and just attacks it at pace. And he's got so much upside if he can get his body right, which would be exciting. I think one that goes a bit underrated from an external point of view, very highly rated internally, was Charlie Comben, and I think his year has just been so good. From we speak about we're easy to score against. When he was on the park, is as good an intercept defender as there is in the comp at the moment. He's big, he's strong, he can read the ball really well, and he needs pieces around him, and the rest of our defense sort of wasn't as obviously wasn't up to it this year. But from a point of view of getting a big pillar in place, he's one that you can hang your hat on and be like, yep, he's our guy. He's got a good 10 years left of his career, and he can be one that you can build a backline around. So he was really exciting for me. I think the one that just sort of broke away in everyone's eyes, externally and internally, was McKercher, as in literally broke away. He's so quick. And there was one passage at that Bunbury game where I saw him in the flesh get a 1, 2, 3, 4 and take about 5 bounces. He got it in the back 50 at the junction, ran across the arc with the ball, gave a 1, 2, got it back, kicked it out on the wing, got it again, and then kicked it inside 50 from another handball. And I think because he's so young and inexperienced, he doesn't realize what he's doing out there in terms of, like, he's not scared to do anything. He doesn't really know that he's doing anything right or anything wrong. He just plays on natural instinct, and he's so talented and he's got so much upside. So he's been one. They've probably been the three for me. Paul Curtis obviously is an amazing footballer who we're very lucky to have. But from three guys that are young and then have sort of emerged, they'd be the ones for me. I think Wardlaw, if he can stay on the park, is as good at inside mid as there is. McKercher's got so much explosion and talent, and we need pace, and he's got it in spades. And then Comben is one for me that we can build a real backline around, and had a really, really good year from what is, what did we finish, 16th?
Yeah.
To be one of the better defenders, in the comp in terms of big defenders. He was right up there. And when he's good and going, I think he's right up there as well. And we need that. So they'd probably be the three for me.
Thinking about those three guys and then combining them with the usual
Yeah.
suspects, we have our best and fairest coming up on Saturday night. If you had to have a guess at your winner or your podium, who would you have up there?
I was thinking, it's going to be hard, I think, to go past Tristan Sherry. I think he gets his first Sid Barker this year. He was pretty close last year. I just think the mountain of work that he has to do, he like Todd Goldstein used to never come off the ground and almost used to get better as the game went on. And X is the same. He's got such a desire to be on the ground, and his follow up work, his pressure around the footy, his tackling, his clearance work. As a big man, he doesn't go underrated anymore. I think because of everyone who does Supercoach or fantasy has Tristan Sherry in there because he's so
Yeah.
good, and so I
Yeah.
think that gets a lot of talk around him. But you just see this impact that he has on the ground. He's as impactful as a player as there is in the comp, and I think he's going to go. I think he wins his first. I really hope he does because he's been so massive for us, and there's been so many games this year where without him we just get obliterated. And so I think he'll go really strong. It's always hard to know how the coaches will vote as well because, as I said, guys like Paul Curtis, he might not have as much impact in a game that Harry Sheasel does with 30 touches, but the impact that he has from the team point of view is massive. So I don't know. I think Sherry will win it. I think probably Sheasel maybe slides into second just because he's played a lot of football and hasn't really been too injured. The rounding out the podium's hard because there's been a lot of guys that have had pretty good. Like Luke Parker's had an unbelievably good year coming in and just sort of helping out. But how does that get seen from a best and fairest point of view? I'm not sure. LDU has had some games where it's like this guy is a Brownlow medal caliber player. Paul Curtis as well, but obviously he's injured. So rounding out the podium, I'm not sure, but I'd say that it'll be I reckon X will win his first, and then Shees will come second.
When you talk about best and fairest in the podium, I think, and you think about progress throughout the year. So last year we had LDU, She's X, that was our podium. And I think fourth was Tom Powell by about 100
Yeah.
votes later.
Yeah.
And the gap between third and fourth was enormous. And I hope this year, and this will be a massive sign for me of improvement, I think as well, that maybe will fly under the radar. If that podium compared to the rest of the five and then the 10
Yeah.
is a lot closer together, then for me, it's going to show absolutely we're heading in the right
Yeah.
direction and progress in another way. I don't want there to be three out and out best players
Yep.
and leave the rest for dust. Like I want the top five and the top 10 to be really, really hard to pick. I think that I agree with you. I think that X will win because you can only score votes for a total of 20 games. So he
Yep.
missed 3 games, but that doesn't matter. He'll
Yeah.
only get voted on 20 as a max. I think Shays will poll well, LD will poll well. I think Kirch will poll well, Parks, Curtis, and I think Cam Zerha is the other one. I've been so
Yeah.
hot on Bull all year. Career best year in front of goal. I think he is the live wire up forward as much as a Wardlaw or McKercher are midfield and defensively. I think what he's able to do, he can turn a game in a quarter. So really hope that his season is reflected on the maybe not the podium, but hopefully to round out the top five as
Yeah.
well.
I think Comben will score for the games. I know he was injured for a lot, but the games that he played, he'll poll really well as well. I think you're right with the depth of players and how it'll score. I do think Sherry will win by. I think he'll be a pretty clear one, and then it'll be the next sort of group coming through. But you're right. You need to see development from everywhere, and you need to see it's not just three guys carrying the team, which I don't think it has been this year when we've played well. We've had sort of you're getting out to sort of 6, 7, 8, 9 really quality guys who are building this footy club. And yeah, I think there'll be a pretty good solid, I'd say 7 or 8 guys that'll be in that mix. And then, that's that just keeps growing, and you need that core to build a team. And I think we're sort of starting to see it. It's just that the rest need to sort of come along for the journey.
We are only in the middle of September. The official trade period doesn't start for a few weeks, but it feels like the media cycle makes
Yeah,
the
it's
trade
already
period
coming up.
last all year round. We've spoken about Spargo. He'll come to North. Do you have any other roles in the side or holes that you think we need to fill in this trade period?
Yeah, defense is our thing. Like, I think we've got offensive weapons throughout the ground, and we've got talent across the park. We just need a key defender is what I'd be going after to help Comben out because as much as Pink's had a couple of really good games, there's also been games where he's been exposed. Griffin Logue we got over, and as a one-on-one defender, he's had his struggles and works better in a team where he's got more guys around him. So I think a key defender is what we're looking for, and there's a lot of them out there. It's just a matter of paying them properly. And the thing, like you look at Hawthorn last year, they threw the sink at Battle and Barras, and it's worked for them. And it's not, yeah, the hard thing with North from an external point of view is that it's not a club. We're not a destination club, but once anyone gets there, you feel so welcome and so embraced. And I think for Spargo, it's easy because he's old man played and he knows what the club's all about. But for guys that are external coming in, it's a hard sell to be like, hey, let's come to the smallest team in Victoria, and see what's going on. But it's I think you just need to go out and try and get a defender, whoever it is, however it looks, just a key solid defender is what we're chasing, and it's easier said than done. But that's where I'd be looking.
So we have been linked to Jordan Butts of Adelaide. He's sort of fallen out of favour because of the form of Worrell and Keane, and they were both excellent against North, and we played them in round 24. Rumoured to have got a 3-year deal on the table, but I don't think we're alone in our interest. I believe the Bulldogs have also started to come into the frame. They're going to lose Liam Jones at the end of the year, so they may come up as a
Yeah.
suitor. How would you sell the club to him if we were up against the likes of a Bulldogs in terms of winning his signature over?
Well, yeah, he's certainly one that has, yeah, he's been linked, and Bulldogs are the same. They've got a horrible defense. That's where their issue is, and the hard sell is comparing to other like a Bulldogs. Who's closer to winning a premiership is the sell? Is it the Bulldogs or is it us? And or a sell against the Bulldogs is, hey, well, they've got all their best players already playing. They couldn't beat. They won 2 games of the top. They beat top 8 sides all year. They
Yeah.
couldn't get it done against good guys. Their brand of footy obviously scores very well, but isn't stacking up. And then, the flip side for us is, yes, we haven't won as many games, but all our talent is younger. We've got, as we said, we've got the best coach. We've got Al Clarkson is as good a coach as there has been in the AFL's history. And yes, he's fallen out of favour with a lot of people, but I think if he can, all it's going to take for him is have a year next year where we can win 8, 9, 10 games, and everyone's going to be like, okay, actually, maybe this guy knows what he's talking about. So I'm very hopeful that happens. But the sell to him is come to a club that, well, if he goes to the Bulldogs, everyone's going to be hanging their hat on him to turn things around. Whereas he comes to North, there's no expectation. I feel like we'd be able to offer him a bit more money, which is always a nice sell. But I would just tell him, like, mate, our list is young. Our list is in a position to do something really exciting. We've spoken for the last 40 minutes about all these young, really talented players that we've got. And yes, you compare them to a Bontempelli and an Aaron Norton and a Tom Liberatore. They're all older and very good players, but I feel like our limit for success in the next 10 years far outweighs what the Bulldogs have got. And yes, they're closer to it right now, but I think it's a train that you want to get on if you're a North guy, and that'd be the sell. I think we've got our next 10 years could be unmatched if we get it right, and he's certainly a piece that I think you could sell to fit into that. But we've got the sky is the limit for us if we can get a couple of those pieces in, and yeah, that would be my sell to him.
Now, I know that there's a lot to play out between now and the start of 2026, but sitting here now, what would your thoughts and expectations be for next year?
Well, I'm very, very confident and hopeful that we'll have another AFLW premiership in the trophy cabinet, which is nice. That, and I also think we're going to have an AFLW best and fairest in the mix as well. I think
That would be
Jesse Garner
nice.
going down hurts herself, but Ash Riddell's having a million touches a game and is so good. So I'm hopeful that can be the case for the girls. But in terms of our men's team and what I'm hoping for us, I think you've got to go, like, obviously you want to, be winning 10, 11, 12 games. But I think for me, realistically, the pass mark next year is 8. If we can win 8 games next year, I think that shows enough level of improvement to be like, okay, we are definitely tracking up. And then you just need to be able to stay competitive in those other games. It's a matter of staying in for 4 quarters, being fit enough to do it, and not getting blown out of the park. And you look across the comp, every team can get blown out. Every team can have a game where they just get smacked and it's game over. But that happens for the good teams once every couple of years. For us, it's been a couple of times a year. And I think if we can get rid of those big losses and win 8 games or more, that's our ceiling, because realistically, when you look at it, we should be beating West Coast. We're a better side than Essendon. We should be beating them. I feel like we should be on a similar trajectory to what St Kilda were this year. Like people had written them off at the start, and they win four in a row at the back end, which helps. But they had games where it was like, okay, we've got some excitement here. Like Wanganeen Miller stays, and he sets up that list. But I'm not saying LDU or Sheasel is as good as him because Nas is a star, but these guys are really, really talented players that can help win us games. And I think we're in a position as a club where we need to be capitalising on that talent. And I think 8 games is the pass mark. So going into next year, I want to see us tick that 8 games off at some point, but also stay away from those massive losses. That's my hope for going into next year.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And I think those are some good markers for us to have in place now as we start to already prepare for next season. Hammer, thank you so much for
No
jumping
worries
back
at all.
on the channel. No doubt we'll catch up again before the start of
Yep.
next season, hopefully celebrating another AFLW premiership.
I just don't see us losing. Our percentage is 504. It's
It's
ridiculous.
crazy. It's
We are
crazy.
flying.
And the depth in that side is insane, and the floor is so high raised. So
Yeah.
hopefully that's a blueprint for our men moving forward as well.
Fingers crossed. Thanks very much for having me back on. We'll speak soon.
Thanks so much.